This is your Global Investors News recap for the week of October 28th. Guyana is expected to see first oil in December. The start date for first oil in Guyana has been moved up to December instead of early 2020, according to officials at ExxonMobil and Hess Corporation. Officials say it'll take about 3 months for the development to produce at its capacity of about 120,000 barrels of oil per day. Exxon has been pumping billions of dollars into the region, which they are expecting to be their biggest growth area. So far, ExxonMobil and Hess have made 14 discoveries offshore Guyana and expect to find even more. BP announced a major gas discovery this week off the coast of Africa. According to Rystad Energy officials, it's one of the largest discoveries this year and estimates that it holds around 1.3 billion barrels of oil. The new find ties with Guyana for the second most discovered volumes this year, with Russia being in the lead with 1.5 billion barrels. Officials say this find could help the African nation become a major player and exporter in the industry. Hess Corporation has also discovered oil this week in the deepwater Gulf of Mexico. The company says they found approximately 191 feet of high-quality oil-bearing reservoirs, and they expect production to start by the first quarter in 2020. Brazil is considering joining the OPEC oil group after an invite from Saudi Arabia. Brazil's president says joining OPEC would form a great partnership and help each other to stabilize global fossil fuel prices. He says he's eager to accept the invitation, but he would need to consult with Brazil's economic team and energy minister first. If Brazil joins OPEC, they would be the third biggest producer in the OPEC oil group after Saudi Arabia and Iraq. Investors are keeping an eye on the growing global wind industry. According to the International Energy Agency, the global wind industry is expected to become a $1 trillion business. With 150 new offshore wind projects slated for the next 5 years, the industry will grow by 13% each year. A report from the IEA also states that floating offshore wind has the potential to meet the world's electricity 11 times over by the year 2040. Offshore wind is already competitive in Europe, where offshore wind electricity was pioneered. Denmark produced 15% of its electricity from offshore wind last year, and China has added more offshore wind than any other country. Democrats are accidentally responsible for the latest fracking boom. Democratic frontrunner Elizabeth Warren has been very clear that if she's elected president, it would be her mission to ban fracking. This threat of possible drilling restrictions has prompted U.S. oil and gas companies to accelerate fracking on public lands over the next year. Companies like Conco Resources is running rigs on its federal acreage now just in case there's a ban on fracking in the future. Analysts say that if fracking were banned, oil and natural gas prices would spike and many oil field services companies would be forced out of business. And could flying taxis soon be a reality? Hyundai, Porsche, and Audi are just some of the major car makers already investing in the flying car industry, which some analysts predict could become a $1 trillion industry in the future. Air taxis are expected to play a key role in this new modernistic industry. The biggest thing holding back flying cars from becoming a reality was money until now. Private equity and legacy car makers are backing efforts in the flying car market. Last year, Audi, Airbus, and Italdesign presented a concept of a flying taxi, combining a self-driving electric car with a passenger drone. Hyundai Motor Group hired a former NASA aviation research and developer to head their newly established urban air mobility division, and Porsche has partnered with Boeing to explore the urban air mobility market as well. As one industry expert points out, the fact that legacy car makers are investing in flying cars signals that this industry could be recognized as a serious contender for the future of mobility. For Global Investors News, I'm Lisa Burton-Quina.